Okay, good evening everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Abom. We're continuing Daf Hashavua. Tonight we learn Daf Chav Zayin, Amud Aleph. We begin 3 lines from the bottom on Chavav Amud Beis. We have 2 opinions so far regarding the halacha of Neder, She Hutra Miktsasai, Hutra Kulai. We have the opinion of Rabbah. Rabbah is of the opinion that if you aser something, and it turns out you didn't mean to aser somebody in the group that you asered, and therefore, upon reflection, you realize you did not say the neder correctly. If you would have said the neder in the exact same way, you just would have excluded those people who you didn't want to exclude, then we do not say, everybody agrees, we do not say neder shehutar miksasa hutar kulai. In Rabbah, the opinion of Rabbi Akiva that neder shehutar miksasa hutar kulai would only apply if you would have completely revamped the neder. Instead of saying you're all aser, you would have said you're aser, you're aser, you're aser, but not so and so. Then Rabbi Akiva would say neder shehutar miksasa hutar kulai, and the Rabbanan would say no. The opinion of Rava is if you would revamp the neder, everybody would agree neder shehutar miksasa hutar kulai. When is there a machlokes between Rabbi Akiva and the Rabbanan? That's if you would have kept the neder the same. You just would have excluded those who you didn't mean to aser. So basically, according to Rabbah, we never say it. Only in Rabbi Akiva when you would revamp it, and in Rava we always say it, except in the Rabbanan when you would not revamp it. Okay. So the Gemara asks, Esvei Ravina Rava. Ravina asked on Rava from a brayso. Rav Nassan Omer. Rav Nassan says, Yesh neder shemiksasei motem miksasei aser. There's a neder that part of it is permitted and part of it is aser. Ketzad nadar min hakalkala. Let's say you made a neder from a basket. Now what's in the basket? What else do you put in a basket? Figs. V'hayu bay b'noi shuach. Now in the basket there were a certain kind of fig which is called benois shuach. Now, what kind of figs are they? It's a different species of fig. The Ran doesn't quite say what kind of fig it is, but it seems like this kind of fig is better than regular figs. The guy says, "Oh, Ivai, I didn't realize there were b'noi shuach figs in the basket. If I would have known there were b'noi shuach figs in the basket, I never would have made the neder." And the guy says, "If I would have known that there were b'noi shuach figs in the basket, I would never made the neder."
Didn't we say b'noi shuach figs were bad?
What?
Aren't b'noi shuach figs bad?
Even though throughout Shas, b'noi shuach are not as good, it seems like from this Gemara they're better. Is that a stira? It seems to be a stira. It seems to be a stira. The Rosh says te'enim toivim him, good kind of figs. And that's implicit in the Gemara. Otherwise, why would the guy say, "Oh, if I would have known they're b'noi shuach, I never would have asked them if they're the bad kind of figs"? So this Gemara is mashma, they're the good kind of figs, even though maybe in Baba Basra, b'noi shuach are not the best kind of figs. Okay, that's discussed in the Rishonim. However, so the halacha is that the basket is aser and the b'noi shuach is mutter. Ad shaba Rabbi Akiva, until Rabbi Akiva came, v'limed, and he taught neder shehutar miksasa hutar kulai. A neder that's partially mutter, it is completely mutter. Now, when he says, "I never would have aser b'noi shuach," how would he have made the neder? How would he have done it? My love, is it not the Amar where he says, if I would have known that there are b'noi shuach here, which are white figs, I would have said, the black ones and the white ones are asur, b'noi shuach mutaris, and b'noi shuach are mutar, meaning he is completely revamping the neder. He's not saying everything but b'noi shuach. He's saying black ones are asur, white ones are asur, b'noi shuach are mutter. It's like he's revamping zu, v'zu, and v'Rabbi Akiva he. And it's only Rabbi Akiva who says Hutter Miktsasei Hutter Kulai, and the Rabbanan argue, Upligi Rabban, the Rabbanan argue, which is exactly what Rabbah says. Rabbah says that when you would revamp the neder, we say that's the Machlokes, the Rabbi Akiva and the Rabbanan. But according to Rava, everybody agrees that if you would revamp the neder, Hutter Miktsasei Hutter Kulai. Says Gemara, no. Rava says back, that's not the case. The case is not that he would revamp the neder, but where he says, if I would have known that the B'nai Shuach are here, I would have said, Kal HaKalkala Asura, the whole basket is Asur, B'nai Shuach Mutarais, and B'nai Shuach are Mutar, meaning where you would have maintained the same language of the neder. And that's why the Rabbanan argue on Rabbi Akiva and say we do not say neder shoter miktsasei hoter kula. But if you would have revamped the neder, for those who are hearing this concept for the first time, revamp means instead of saying everything is aser, but you start delineating this type is aser, this type is aser, this type is aser, which is a different way of phrasing the neder than you started with. You originally said everything. So if now that you know that the B'nai Shuach are among it, you would have specifically mentioned those items which you're answering. That's completely revamping the neder. That situation, Rava holds, everybody agrees, neder shehuter miktsasai huter kulai. The Gemara continues. Let's see the Ran. On Chavav Amud Beis, yesh neder shemiktsasei muter miktsasei aser nirali de b'miktsasei muter beloy she'ela kamar. When we say that a neder that's partially muter, the rest is muter, that's if you don't have to be mater that part. That's if it's mutter without she'ela. Kivan sheyesh ta'as b'ikar neder. If there's a mistake fundamentally in the neder, shezol eskaven lebenois shuach la'olam, he never intended to aser benois shuach. Now the other two Rans are going on the next daf, so we don't have to read them. We go further in the Gemara. Man tana lahadu tana rabbanon. Who's the Tana who taught that which the rabbis taught in a brisa? Nadar mechamish bnei adam kachar. Let's say somebody made a neder that I'm not going to get hana from 5 people at one time. I'm not going to get hana from Louis, Michael, Yehuda, PW, and Alan. Yeah, I'm not going to get or Harav Pinchas, Raslatsky, and Reb Allen. Yeah, so I say I'm not getting hana from any of you. I'm not getting hana from any of you. So the halach is hutar le'echem mehem hutru kulam. If I became mutter to one of them, they're all permitted. For example, if one of you guys was my brother, then you'd all be mutter. The thing is, you're all my brother. But let's say we only one of you guys was my brother, then you're all mutter. It's neder shoter miktsasei huter kulai. Chutz me'echa mehem. If, let's say, except for one, who mutter v'hein asurin. That guy is mutter and the rest are asur. So in the Reisha, we say huter miktsasei huter kulai. In the Seifa, we don't say huter miktsasei huter kulai. Now why in the world would that be? Why in the Reisha would we say huter miktsasei huter kulai and not in the Seifa? What would the chiluk be? The only chiluk could possibly be that in the Reisha, the guy, when he finds out one of them is his father, he would have revamped the neder. He would have said, instead of kulchem, you and you and you and you. And that's why huter miktsasei huter kulai. In the Seifa, the guy says, I wouldn't have revamped the neder, I just would have said, except for my brother, or except for my father. So that means, the Reisha is where you would have been meshana, and the Seifa would be maimed. So, how are we going to explain this brisa? Again, the Reisha says huter miktsasei huter kulai. The Seifa says huter miktsasei huter kulai. Says the Gemara, ila Rabba. If it's going according to Rabba, so then the Reisha that says huter miktsasei huter kulai would have to go according to Rabbi Akiva, And because we know Rabbi Akiva holds that if you would have revamped the neder in Rabba Hoter Mitzasai Hoter Kulai, Reisha Rabbi Akiva, the Seifa Divrei HaKoil, and the Seifa, where we don't say Hoter Mitzasai Hoter Kulai, is where your Maimed Dvarav would go according to everyone. Even Rabbi Akiva would agree that if your Maimed Dvarav, we don't say Hoter Mitzasai Hoter Kulai. Ila Rava, if it's going according to Rava, so if the Seifa, your Maimed Devarav, now, even if your Maimed Devarav in Rava, Rabbi Kiva holds Hutar Mitzasei Hutar Kula, so the Seifa would have to be going like the Rabbanon. The Reisha Divrei HaKol, and the Reisha, where your Mishana Devarav, could even be Rabbi Akiva. Bottom line is, according to Rabbah, the Tana, the Mishnah is Rabbi Akiva, and that's why Hutar Mitzasei Hutar Kulai in the Reisha, because you would have been Mishana Devarav, and in the Seifa, even though you would have been Mishana Devarav, Lo Hutar Kulai. It happens to be the Seifa the Rabbanan would agree to, but the Tana is Rabbi Akiva. And in the world of Rava, the Tana is the Rabbanan. That's why we say Lo Hutar Kulai in the Seifa by Maimed. But if you would be Mishana Devarav, then, like the Reisha says, Hutar Mitzasei Hutar Kulai. But according to Rabbi Kiva, it can't be Rabbi Kiva, because Rabbi Kiva would always say Hutar Mitzasei Hutar Kulai. This concludes the sugya of Neder Shehutar Mitzasei Hutar Kulai. There's a long Ran here that the Ran says Halach L'Maisa. The Ran is found 5 lines from the bottom on Chavav Amud Beis, which is not a Ran recommended by Daf Hashavua. So we're not allowed to learn it. No, we're allowed to learn it. We're just happy. We're not going to be reading it inside right now. But just basically, the way the Ran paskins is L'gabe halacha, we paskin like Rabbi Akiva, that Neder Shoter Mitzasei Hoter Kulai. Now, but like who? Like Rabba or like Rava? So the Ran says, Rabba was Rava's Rebbe. So that's sad to say halacha is like Rabba. On the other hand, Rava is a Basra. So therefore we have to be machmer. We have to be machmer that we only say Hutar Mitzasei Hutar Kulai if you would have changed the terminology of the neder. We have to be machmer like Rabba, because it's a suffix d'oraisa. That's the Ran's basic conclusion. We begin now a new sugya of Nidrei Einsin. Nidrei Einsin, which is in a way a massive sugya in Shas. The thing is, you know it already because we learned it in Ksubis. The thing is, there's some added lumdus over here, but the basic lumdus you're familiar with. There's an idea that if you do something under duress, you're not responsible for it. We know that if a woman commits adultery, it's a capital offense, but if she's raped, she's not punished. Ulanara leisasa davar. Why not? But she committed immorality. She committed adultery. The answer is if she was forced into it. When someone is forced to do something, we don't attribute his action to him. It's like it just happened by itself. Or there's another idea that, let's say, I make a neder, and I say if such and such, if I don't do such and such, then I ask her something, and I didn't do it. But the reason I didn't do it is because of an extenuating circumstance. The neder is not chal, because you didn't mean that. Because you didn't mean if it doesn't happen due to extenuating circumstance. You meant if it doesn't happen under normal circumstances. So says the Mishnah, Nidrei Einsin, Nedarim that were forced, Nedarim under duress. What does that mean? We learned earlier that Nedarim, Nidrei Einsin, the Chachamim matter. Hidiru chaver sheyochel. Let's say I said, I make a neder, if you don't come to my house for the Shabbos afternoon lunch, then I'm not giving you hana. I don't have any friends, and I feel bad that nobody wants to come to my house Shabbos afternoon. So I make a neder, if you don't come to my house Shabbos afternoon, then I'm not going to give you any of this candy from Yaakov Davidov's L'chaim. I'm just not going to do it. And there's good candy in here. There's Jello raspberry candy, which I know you're chalishing to have. So I aser this candy bag to you unless you come to my house for Shabbos lunch. The chalahu, and the guy who I invited became sick. Or even if he didn't become sick, his son became sick, and the guy who was supposed to come to my house had to attend to his son. Or the river swelled, the river stopped. He thought he'd be able to jump over the river, but the river got very expanded. This is considered a neder that you're forced to violate. Basically, it was beyond your control to fulfill this neder, and therefore, even though I said if you don't come to my house for lunch, you're usher and such, and you didn't come, the halacha is you're still allowed to eat this candy bag. Okay, you're still allowed to eat the candy bag. So, Zak the Ran on the Mishnah, Nidrei Yonsen Haridir Chaver Sheyochel Etzlai, Aisha Chalabanai Kalaimar, the Afagav the Lava Onos Gomerhu, even though it's not a complete oinus, because if the guy himself was sick, so he can't come to my house to eat, but he was able to come, his son was sick, so because he's attending to his son, he can't come to my house, that's also an oinus. Harei Elu Nidrei Yonsen Lefishaloi Allah Al Daitoi, never entered his mind. Lesar nechasav al chaverai. It didn't enter my mind to aser the possessions on my friend. Im lo yochal imai, if he doesn't eat with me. Ela kishay yuchal lavoi beloy oines klal. Only if he could come without an oines at all. And then he doesn't come. I said, if you don't come to my house, I'm not giving you the candy bag. What I meant was, if you don't come to my house because you don't feel like it, but if you had an extenuating circumstance, I never meant it. But if there's a little bit of an oinus, you see the Ran says, even a little bit of an oinus. Your son became sick, and you have to guard him, you have to watch him. Mutter, delav adaito dahachi nadre. That's not what I was thinking. That wasn't my mindset. See, it's a new svara of einus. I never had in mind to aser you if the reason you don't come is because of an einus. It's not that we're not blaming you for not coming. That's not why. Because it's not about blame. I said a neder, if you don't come, you're aser to eat my candies. So it's not, it's not my fault that I didn't come. That's not the reason why the neder is nachal. The reason neder is nachal is because the guy never meant to make the neder for these circumstances. What?
It almost sounds exactly like neder shkogos.
Sounds like neder shkogos. Neder shkogos, it's not beyond your control. You just forgot. You were mistaken.
The guy didn't know, like, his father was in the group, that he wouldn't have, why is that no different than an einus? I mean, if he says, I answer this, and then they find that his father or brother's in the group, it's almost the same thing like an einus.
It's a little bit careless. The shoygay guy is a little bit careless. In other words, would you say a guy who forgot it was Shabbos was an einus? Right? A guy, he's coming out of the bathroom, and he turns off the light. He's an einus, or he forgot. So he's not guiltless. You know, he should have been more attentive, but he did it inadvertently. It wasn't beyond his control. It just, he in good faith made a mistake. These cases, he didn't make a mistake. There were circumstances beyond his control prevented him from coming. And the vart is that I didn't mean, here the reason why the neder is not chal is because I didn't mean for it to be chal for such a case. Is that the reason why nidrei shkagos? Nidrei shkagos is more of an innocent mistake. This is, I never meant it for this circumstance. Okay. The Gemara continues. Hahu gavra de aspis zachvasa beidina. There's a guy who gave his bill of rights to Bezdin. Let's say like this. there was a guy who had a shtar that he has rights to a certain piece of land. Shtara da achvasa, a shtar of zechus. He had a certain shtar that he had rights to a certain property. Va'amar, he said like this: Iloya sina tosn yom. If I don't come back within 30 days, lebatlon hani zachvasa, then my rights to this property should be batal. Meaning, the guy had sort of weak evidence that he had rights to a field. He told the Bezdin, hang on, right, I'll be right back. I have much better evidence in the next city. I'll be right back. He said, if I don't come back within 30 days, then I want to nullify, I agree to nullify the rights, my Bill of Rights. What happened? Itnis v'layasa. There was an oinus and he couldn't come. Amar Rav Huna batel zachvase. Rav Huna said he didn't come, so the Bill of Rights is nullified. Amar le Rava. Rava said no, it's not nullified. Onusu. It's an oinus. V'onus rachmana patre. Oinus, the Torah exempts you. D'chsiv, like it says, v'lanara lo sasa davar. And to the youth, you should not do anything. To the young girl who was violated, who was raped, you don't do anything. Even though she's a married woman, you don't punish her because it was beyond her control. Says the Ram. Imloy asina mikan ad tosan yomin levatlan zachvasai. Hi Gavra, this guy, Bikesh mi Bezdin. He asked from Bezdin, Sheyitnu loizman, that they should give him time, ukedetanan b'Sanhedrin. Like we learned in a Mishnah in Sanhedrin, shekal raya sheyesh lecha lahavi. Any proof that you could bring, have, you should bring mikan va'ad lamed yom, from now until 30 days. Ubezdin chasheshu, Bezdin suspected that the guy is just stalling for time. Shemaloi Amar Kain Elal Hishameh. Maybe he's just trying to wiggle out. That's why he said, give me 30 days, I'll kind. It's like, when Hamas says, we'll give you all the hostages, let's have a ceasefire for 5 years. Shkayach, and then what? Then they're going to be Oysa Shalom B'Mraymav V'Yasa Shalom Aleinu. 5 years is enough to retool. So when the guy says, I'll be right back, I'll be back in 30 days, no, the guy's up to no good if he's saying that. So they told him, yeah, you're going to come back in 30 days. If you don't come back in 30 days, you agree to give up your rights of this bill that gives you rights to this land. They made a deal with him that they were going to hold on to his shtar of rights. He said, if I don't come back, my zechusim should be nullified. So Rav Huna said the guy didn't come back, so he loses his rights. Rava said no, he doesn't lose his rights because he's an oinus. V'oinus rachmana patre. So you say, come on, oinus rachmana patre is that we don't kill a girl for when she's raped, because we're not going to kill her because she was forced. But maybe that's only regarding executing a woman. But does that have bearing on whether if somebody gave his word, if I don't come back, I give up my right to the field? So he didn't come back just because it was extenuating circumstances. You can't extrapolate from the fact we don't kill a woman when she's forced that we won't hold it against the guy for not coming back. If you're going to say execution is different, maybe there it's more lenient. But we know of other cases where we're lenient by an oinus. But tonight we learned in the Mishnah, Nidrei Oinsin. What is a case of Nidrei Oinsin? Our Mishnah. Hidiru chaver sheyechal etzla. If your friend made a neder that you should eat by him, v'chalahu oisha chalabanoi oisha ikfanar harei elu nidrei oinsin. So we're proving from our Mishnah that the din of oinus is not only to get someone off the hook for execution, but even if somebody says a neder, I ask you to eat my candies if you don't come and eat the Shabbos meal with me, and then somebody got sick, so then the neder is off. So we see it's not only by execution. Why? The Ran learns the lumdus is because when the guy made the neder, he didn't mean it under those circumstances. When the guy made the neder, he didn't mean it under those circumstances.
But something like it with the man across the river, and 30 days he came back, and he's waving, I'm here. The fact that he didn't make it to cross the river is the same situation, and he loses out.
You're saying if a guy says, if I don't come back, it should be a get, and he doesn't come back, the halacha is it's a good get. So we say ein oines begitin. What?
He didn't put it to the equation of the river. That wasn't what it was about. But yet we said that get works.
Yeah. So there, maybe because it's common, so then he really did think about it, right? There might have been other factors that, even though in general there's a tainus oinus, but there maybe it's something he should have thought of. Let's see the Ran over here. The Ran says, "V'chitema ketala shani kolaymar." Maybe only the b'makam ketala ika tainus oinus. Maybe there's only a tain of oinus by execution, ava b'midi achrini loy, not by any other subject. V'atanan, we learned in our Mishnah, nidrei oinsin, harei lo nidrei oinsin, l'fi shaloi Allah alev madir. It never entered the mind of the guy who made the neder that the neder should be chal if the guy gets sick. Im yara loikach. So just like by Nedarim, we say if the guy says, if you don't eat by me, you can't have any of these candies. It didn't enter my mind that maybe you won't eat by me for an extenuating circumstance. So too, the guy who said, if I don't come back in 30 days, I'm being mavatel my rights to the land. It didn't enter his mind if I don't come back due to extenuating circumstances. Now what does Rav Huna hold? Rav Huna holds he doesn't make that distinction. The Rav Huna held that if the guy didn't come, so he loses his rights. Rav Huna dolay shani le'midi, mashma dolay chash leparche. Rav Huna said like this. Rav Huna says the guy loses his rights. Rav Huna would say like this. You can't prove from the Mishnah that just like by the Mishnah there's an oinus, so too the guy who says my rights to the land should be batal. You know why? The guy who made the neder in our Mishnah, should he have said, by the way, I answer you, but only if the reason you don't come is because you don't want to? What do I care? Why do I need to enunciate that I'm only answering you if the reason why you don't come is because you chose not to, but if you had an extenuating circumstance, I don't answer you? Why does he have to spell that out? He's not mechuyev to spell it out. Even though maybe he didn't have that in mind, he's not obligated to spell out that he's only making it under a normal circumstance. But if a guy is declaring to Beis Din that I will lose my rights if I don't come back, he needed to specify that is only if it's a regular circumstance. But if they're extenuating circumstance, the onus is on him. Kivan davali lasnuye. He should have made a tanai. Iu afsir anavshe. He's causing himself to lose out. By Nedarim, meaning like this. If I'm aser, I'm saying, if you don't come to me, you can't have my candies. So we say, well, what's the halacha if you couldn't come due to extenuating circumstance? The answer is, then I didn't mean to answer you. Oh, I didn't mean to answer you. So then why didn't I spell it out? I have no stake in this. Well, it really matters to me whether you're mutter to my candies or asur to my candies. I'm not affected by this neder. But if I'm being mavatel my rights to land, and I didn't say that I only mean if it's not an extenuating circumstance, Well, why didn't I say that if it's an extenuating circumstance? I don't mean it. You didn't do it, you lose out. You should have been clear, because this is something that affects you, and therefore you need to spell out every possibility. That's what Rav Huna would say back. Anyway, so the Gemara asked on Rava, meaning the Mishnah says, the Gemara gave a case. A guy who gave his rights to Bezdin. He said, if I don't come back, then I lose my rights. So, and the guy didn't come back because of an oinus. So Rava says, he's an oinus, Rachmana Patre. And don't say that's only by Misa, because even by Nedarim we say oinus Rachmana Patre. So the Gemara now asks the following question. Rava, according to Rava, why is this different than the following case? This is the case where Mike was saying, this is your get from now. If I don't come back within 12 months. And the guy died within 12 months. So he says, this is your get. If I don't come back, and the guy didn't come back due to an oinus, it's a good get. Why is it right? So the guy says, listen, if I don't come back in 12 months, I'm giving you, lady, the get right now. Now, and what happened? The guy died, so he didn't come within 12 months. And the halach is, it's a good get. Why is it a good get? Why don't we say, oinus? He never had in mind that if he doesn't come back due to this extenuating circumstance, death is not avoidable. You can't ward off the Malach HaMavos. When the Malach HaMavos comes, there are no delay tactics.
But that's something in a person's mind.
What?
Something that people don't usually think of that being within something that could happen. Tell me a river that swells.
Exactly. He never thought about it. He didn't think about death. So why is it a good get?
Right.
That's Gemara's kasha. Yeah? Why is it a good get, but it's an oinus? Why don't we say, a dying is for sure beyond one's control. This is an oinus. Look in the Ran. The Ran says, no, the Ran doesn't say. Answers the Gemara, no. Amri, you could say, Dilmashani Hasam. There it's different. Why? Di avayada de miss. Because if he would have known he's going to die, min alter have a gomer of Yav Gita, he would have given her a get right away. Why? What's the reason he's giving her a get? Because he doesn't want her to fall to Yibam. That's the whole reason he's giving her a get. So if he dies, he certainly meant that if I don't come back due to death, it should be a good get. In other words, this guy says, if I don't come back within 12 months, it should be a good get. So if the guy got sick and that's why he didn't come back, he didn't mean that type of not coming back. But if the guy dies, even though it's an oinus beyond his control, that's exactly the circumstance why he wanted to give the get in the first place. Says the Ran, Dilma shani achad di'aviyad the misman alter gomer v'yav gita sharei loy nasan laget ela mishum deloy nichale de tiba kavayavam. Yeah, but the question is, isn't the pshat that he never thought of that possibility, so that's not what he meant? Or do we say, since that's why he's giving the get, he thinks of that possibility. The whole reason he's giving the get is he doesn't want her to fall to Yibam. That means he's thinking of the possibility that he might die, and he's exactly giving it for that possibility. Certainly if he would have known that he would die, Gamar Magarsha, Ki hechi delay tipo kameyavam. Okay, so that's Daf Chav Zayin, and it goes much easier when Reb Allen's with us. It's right. It's more geshma. Come on. So okay. Shkoyach everyone. I see different backgrounds. I don't know if you moved. You're at wedding halls. You're in new places. It's good. It's good. It's good to change up the background. It's more exciting for me. Okay.
Like is it?
Have a good night, everyone. Kol tov.
Feel better.
Thank you, Kol tov.